Happy holidays, everybody, and Tony here with my review of Mozart's Die Zauberflöte with once again conductor Friedrich Pretorius, which I saw at the Deutsche Oper Berlin. This marks the 8th time I saw Gunther Kremer's production of Mozart's Die Zauberflöte at the Deutsche Oper Berlin because I wanted to see, hear, and witness Andrei Danilov performed the role of Tamino. He's been performing this role for nearly a decade, and since then, he also made this role one of his staples during his tenure at the Deutsche Oper Berlin back in the 2019 to 2020 season. And since then, Tamino has been one of Andrei Danilov's signature roles aside from Alfredo from La Traviata and the Duke of Mantua from Rigoletto, just to name a few of the many lyric tenor roles that he specialized in. I've been curious to see and hear how Andrei Danilov as Tamino was going to fare. I've heard my fair share of amazing things about how he was faring as Tamino, let alone how he sang the entire role. And as to be expected, I was thoroughly astounded and I was pleased. Not just pleased, mind you, I was overjoyed when he sang Tamino. This was a role that formed the staple of his repertoire for nearly a decade, and he continued to find a lot of nuances, shadings, and a lot of interesting perspectives about this particular character, let alone Prince, that I was thoroughly charmed, and he made me eat out of the palms of his hands, thus showing how excellent his technical prowess was as a singing actor, complete with squillo, a handsome stage presence, and a tall, sturdy countenance that made him thoroughly credible as Tamino. That burnished and gorgeous timbre that he had that managed to radiate throughout the theater, as well as glow and grow with beauty, formidability, handsomeness, and a whole lot of discipline and strength. Those were the attributes that I felt defined Andrei Danilov as Tamino, not just as a singer, but as an overall performer. His astounding combination of handsome lyricism, which made him thoroughly disciplined and wonderfully charismatic as a musician and as an overall fine artist, and heaps upon heaps of charisma and enthusiasm, and not to mention a good chunk of virility, made his performance as Tamino thoroughly diverse, as well as interesting and totally distinctive. On top of that, he was one of the few Taminos who has continued to sing with the great bel canto style, and that old school style that defined tenors such as Helge Roswenge, Koloman von Pataki, Bela von Kuerni, Andreas Dippel, Walter Ludwig, Charles Cullman, Brian Sullivan, Rudolf Schuck, Ernst Häfliger, Nikolai Gedda, Ernst Kotzub, Fritz Wunderlich, who is still my favorite Tamino of all time, Peter Schreier, Siegfried Jerusalem, Peter Hoffmann, Francisco Araiza, and Jerry Hadley. Those were some of the Taminos that Andrei Danilov reminded me of. He did have that rich and voluminous timbre that defined Siegfried Jerusalem's and Peter Hoffmann's portrayals of Tamino, dramatic and strong in tone, as well as having virility to make him credible as a dashing nobleman, let alone hero. And that exceptional bel canto singing found in the likes of Juan Oncina, Charles Cullman, Brian Sullivan, Francisco Araiza, Jerry Hadley, Agostino Lazzari, and even Richard Tucker, who, mind you, also sang Tamino in the 1950s. Therefore, Andrei Danilov could exercise a great deal of versatility, charisma, charm, and total awesomeness, thus making me totally engage with his overall vivacity as a performer. There was not one moment where I felt bored. He was exciting all the way through, and he imbued the role of Tamino with the complete package. Handsome virility as a nobleman, his trademark exciting timbre that rang throughout the theater as if though it were soaring swords slashing through the air in the midst of a battle, and heaps, let alone abundant confidence that made his Tamino all the more striking to watch on stage. Therefore, Andrei Danilov was vocally and theatrically excellent as Tamino, and he continues to deliver outstanding performances no matter what role he sings in. And it's no wonder why Tamino is one of his signature roles. He embodied this character with nobility. He also had that sufficient virility that made him heroic yet charming. And his overall manner was both romantic and virile. On top of that, his cutting, incisive, full lyric tenor voice also sold it as Tamino. So bravo to Andrei Danilov for an outstanding performance as Tamino. He was able to do so magnificently in this role, and if ever I think of a modern singer who can do the role of Tamino justice, Andrei Danilov is that man. If you haven't seen Andrei Danilov as Tamino yet, what are you waiting for? Go check him out. He is absolutely amazing, both vocally and theatrically, and you owe it to yourself to catch Andrei Danilov in his vocal prime and in his great, excellent singing skills as Tamino. He was a dashingly noble prince through and through, and therefore he deserved 1,000, let alone 1,000,000,000 salutes from yours truly, and for those who loved him in this particular role. Hong-kyun was virile, formidable, and strong as the first arm man, as he's always been, thus making his tenor/baritone voice cut through the orchestra like a Jinsu blade. He was excellent as the first arm man to the point where I was able to salute him and honor how exciting his voice truly was. Not to mention the incisive tenor voice of his was just as formidable and made him stand out so handsomely. Cal Miller was a dashing, handsome, and charismatic first priest, using his lyric baritone voice to make the best out of this character, and using heaps upon heaps of charisma to sell it as this particular priest. While I still prefer a bass baritone or even a Helden baritone in this role, I still have to give loads of kudos to Kyle Miller for his charisma and for his overall dedication as a singing actor. Porrick Rowan continues to be as virile and handsome as Papageno. He had that round, rich, and handsome voice that I've always loved about him, and he continued to serve it well as Papageno. On top of that, I hope that he also looks to the likes of Giuseppe Taddei, Vladimiro Ganzarolli, Walter Birri, and Sesto Bruscantini as great inspirations for how Papageno should sound like, complete with squillo and masculinity, so that he can also continue to develop his technique in the best possible way and use a lot more squillo. But when all is said and done, Porrick Rowan was thoroughly excellent and thoroughly charismatic as Papageno to the point where I saluted his performance. He did an excellent job, both vocally and theatrically, and I felt every bit of charisma and charm pouring out of his soul, and he sold it all the way through in the best possible way. Jörg Schörner continues to be charismatic and charming as the second priest, using his superb character tenor voice to make his voice shine, as well as give this particular priest a whole lot of charisma and character. And I dare not forget about sardonic affability. That is just how multifaceted of a singing actor Jörg Schörner continues to be, especially as the second priest. Burkhard Ulrich was also as charismatic and devilishly charming as Monostatos, using his trademark character tenor voice to make his voice thoroughly shine, as well as provide him with a lot of nuances, whether he gets pissed or he just wants the love of Pamina, even though it's bordering on lust. But he continues to sell it as Monostatos in the best possible way, and I also salute him for his continuous efforts to bring in a lot more interest and nuance to this particular Moorish slave. Diana Schnurpel continues to be excellent, let alone outstanding, as the Queen of the Night. Her fierce attacks at the top notes, as well as her great coordination, made her thoroughly outstanding, let alone a platinum star in her own special way. Therefore, Diana Schnurpel continues to be one of the best dramatic coloratura sopranos I have ever heard, even with that lyric coloratura soprano edge that has thoroughly defined her career. She is multifaceted without a doubt, and her high notes as well as her sterling technique continue to be in great form. Lilith Daftian actually grew exceedingly well in coordination, as she also had a lot more coordinated chest tones, and she continued to show a lot more class as well as elegance as a singing actress embodying Pamina. When listening to Lilith Daftian, especially as Pamina, her voice kind of reminds me of a combination of Lucia Pop, especially in her early years as a coloratura soprano in the 1960s, Ileana Kotrubash in her vocal prime in the 60s and the 70s, and a bit of Kathleen Battle for the lightness and brightness, little breeziness of her voice. And I dare not forget about Norma Burroughs, who was also one of the finest light lyric/lyric coloratura sopranos, who also sang both Papagena and Pamina, as well as Gwendolyn Bradley, a superb fiacchermilli who also sang the role of Pamina in the 90s. All of these sopranos' qualities were reflected in Lilith Daftian's voice, as well as her overall delivery as Pamina. Sure, I still prefer a creamier, richer voice that still has flexibility singing the role of Pamina, such as those found in Melita Museli, Anna Moffo, Benita Valente, Judith Raskin, Adriana Maliponte, Ileana Kotrubash, Valerie Masterson, Edith Matis, Anneliese Rothenberger, Agnes Giebel, René Doria, Lucina Amara, Gail Robinson, and Yvonne Kenny, especially where Anna Moffo's and Yvonne Kenny's creamy tones are concerned, because they were so gorgeous and feminine that I love to listen to their performances as Pamina. But in Lilith Daftian's case, I totally digress, because her technical prowess was growing at such a wonderful rate, and I cannot wait to see this young soprano perform the likes of Constanze from Die Entführung aus dem Serail, Lucia Ashton from Lucia di Lammermoor, Manon from Massenet Manon, Linda from Linda di Chamonix, Amina from La Sonambula, Elvira from I Puritani, Violetta from La Traviata, Louise from Charpentier's Louise, Melisande from Peleas et Melisande, and Ilia from Idomeneo. But at this current rate, I would love to hear her one day as Gilda from Rigoletto and Leila from Le Pêcheur de Perles. Those roles are tailor-made for her and are perfect for her. Sure, I still miss that extra creaminess and richness found in the likes of Lieselotte Felser, Melita Museli, Anneliese Rothenberger, Anna Moffo, and Edith Mattes. But Lilith Daftian's trademark girlish timbre, which reminds me of a cross of Helen Donat as well as Lucia Pop and Colette Bocchi, managed to make her performance as Pamina a thoroughly wonderful and thoroughly charming portrayal. So I still have to give my hat off to Lilith Daftian for a job excellently done in terms of her growing vocal prowess, as well as the charm that she continued to provide. Alexandra Omens charmed the audiences once again as a superb Papagena. She is totally up there with the likes of Emmy Luse, Lisa Otto, Graziella Schutti, Gertrude Friedman, and Jeanette Scavati as my personal favorite singers of Papagena. And I dare not forget about Rary Grist and Adelaide Bishop, who were both excellent light lyric coloratura sopranos who specialized in Papagena. Here, Alexandra Omen's technical proficiency made her shine like the brightest of stars tonight as Papagena, and she continued to be a thoroughly consistent and brilliant singing actress, using great sterling technique to define her portrayal as Papagena and therefore win the audiences over with such a superb portrayal of this lovely and charming as well as pert young lady who happens to be Papageno's sweetheart. Stephanie Wake Edwards' chesty mezzo-soprano voice, Annika Schlicht's steely mezzo-soprano voice and Maria Vasilevskaya's sparkling and full-toned, full lyric soprano voice made great chemistry, as well as continued to astound me as their superb chemistry as the three ladies. They sang extremely well, and they also continued to keep on growing as singers, especially considering the technical prowess that these three wonderful ladies managed to produce as well as be defined by. So hats off to Stephanie Wake Edwards, Annika Schlicht, and Maria Vasilevskaya for their superb chemistry as well as their superb vocal excellence all throughout. And in terms of how the soloists of the Tölzer Knabenchor sang, they all sang so beautifully and so harmoniously that their voices shone like the brightest of crystals. And when it came to the lower voiced men, Tobias Kera continued to be absolutely formidable as Zarastro, with his trademark basso profondo voice coming to great effect, as well as adding in some extra low notes for wonderful effect, and also showing that if he had him, he ended up flaunting them with authority and strength. So hats off to Tobias Kira for his continuously excellent performance as Sarastro. Byung-gil Kim was a handsomely resonant second arm man, taking great advantage of his basso cantante / bass baritone voice that was round, dark, and pretty haunting to make such a strong effect for the second arm man. So he continues to have his share of laurels for making the role his own and therefore using his resonant vocal presence to make the second arm man stand out so well. Michael Baghdadze may continue to exude confidence and charisma as the Speaker of the Temple, and he continues to have a sufficiently imposing quality as the Speaker of the Temple by using his baritone voice to the best of his abilities. However, when it comes to more legendary interpreters of the role, i.e. Paul Schöffler and Hans Hotta, he kind of paled in comparison, because there was still that vocal throatiness. Nevertheless, I could take that particular Achilles heel out of the way and confirm that Michael Baghdadze continued to be a handsomely charismatic singing actor whose voice may not be to everybody's ears, let alone liking, but he continued to take advantage of this unique timbre that he managed to solidify for many years and use his formidable stage presence to make this role work in his own special way. So overall, this singing was absolutely excellent, especially when you have Andrei Danilov leading the helm as Tamino. His vocal prowess, which was excellent, let alone outstanding, made him a thoroughly awesome, let alone exciting singer to witness continuously. He always delivered the goods in such an outstanding manner, and the way he was able to portray Tamino both vocally and theatrically made him thoroughly amazing from beginning to end. Whether it was his interpretation of Dies Bildnis ist bezaubernd schön or Wie stark ist nicht dein Zauberton, he was able to deliver all the goods with excellence and outstanding quality and heaps upon heaps of charisma. With all that said, he deserves all the A+ I could give to him, as well as all the gold, titanium, and platinum medals I could give to him, let alone all the platinum records I could give to him because of his virile, handsome, and thoroughly awesome portrayal of Tamino. That was just how excellent Andrei Danilov was tonight as Tamino, which was a role that he had been singing for nearly a decade, and even a role that had been defining his career. So I continue to salute him for everything that he continues to do thus far, and I also hope that he continues to preserve his handsome and totally wonderful full lyric tenor voice with that spinto edge, so that he could also maintain the role of Tamino while exploring new roles that he would gladly challenge himself with. Equally as great were the likes of Hong-kyun as the first arm man, Cal Miller as the first priest, Porek Rowan as Papageno, Jörg Schörner as the second priest, Burkhard Ulrich as Monostatos, Tobias Kehrer as Sarastro, Byung-gil Kim as the second arm man, Michael Bachtadze as the speaker, Diana Schnürpel as the queen of the night, Lilith Daftian as Pamina, Alexandra Omens as Papagena, Maria Vasilevskaya, Annika Schlicht, and Stephanie Wake Edwards as the three ladies, and the soloists of the Tölzer Knabenchor as the first, second, and third boys. Everybody managed to do exceedingly well tonight and exercised outstanding vocal and theatrical capabilities in their respective roles. The conducting done by Friedrich Pretorius was once again brisk and absolutely exciting. While it's still not as nuanced, let alone as multidimensional as his predecessors, such as Otto Klemperer, Karl Böhm, and Herbert von Karajan, he was still a thoroughly exciting conductor, and he also knew exactly when to power up in the more charged up moments. He continued to exercise excitement as well as involvement with the orchestra and chorus, and the chorus and the orchestra of the Deutsche Oper Berlin were thoroughly excellent as they've always been. So with Andrei Danilov leading the helm as a superb Tamino, this was a grand night to witness such a wonderful, grand, and absolutely exciting full lyric tenor continue to sell it as one of his great signature roles of all time. His virile charisma, outstanding technique, and excellent vocal prowess managed to make him the great star tonight, as well as lead his fellow singers into being great as they are in their own special ways. He therefore strengthened the entire performance and ensured that everybody was at a high quality from beginning to end, and he did so with a whole lot of confidence, chutzpah, and grand awesomeness from beginning to end. Therefore, I salute Andrei Danilov for his outstanding contributions as Tamino, as well as the singer who basically led the entire helm tonight as a superb singing actor. And for those of you who caught Mozart's Die Zauberflöte at the Deutsche Oper Berlin, what'd you think of it? Did you feel that Andrei Danilov as Tamino was able to lead the helm all the way through? Did you also feel that he was at his vocal best after seeing him in many performances as Tamino? Was there another singer who stole his thunder? Or did you feel like his singing was not really to your liking? Please let me know in the comments below. Well, that's it for my review of Mozart's Die Zauberflöte starring Andrei Danilov as Tamino. Tune in tomorrow for my tribute to Rock's first Christmas episode, Joey's Fan. So until then, happy holidays, everybody!